Hi, everyone, and welcome to Off the Record, the sports podcast of breaking news, hard opinion, and a little bit of gibber. And this week, quite a lot of COVID-19. I'm Andrew Webster from The Australian. I'm joined by my partner in crime, Phil Rothfield from the Daily Telegraph. Buzz, we've both got COVID.
Oh, it's bloody. I got a terrible dose too, mate. I'm on every pill you can get in the chemist.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's not nice, mate, but we soldier on. We keep going, mate.
We are. So, look, we do, because you know why? Because we're battlers. Been
That's
battling our
right.
whole lives. So apologies, guys, if we're coughing and spluttering or in Buzz's case, dribbling. Coming up
Yeah.
on the show today, Buzz has got some news on what's going on, what's doing with Payne Haas. We'll rip into State of Origin 2. We're going to have a look at the World Test Championship between Australia and South Africa, which is delicately poised at this time of recording. And in our War Story segment, with that in mind, Buzz and I are going to talk about the various times we've clashed with international cricketers over the years. Before we get into the chat, always remember you can get an annual subscription to Code Sports. It's the best sports website in the country for just $49. You can get the app, you can go on the desktop, head to codesports.com.au/OTR to get the special discount on your annual Code subscription. Buzz, you've disappeared off the screen.
I'm back. I just turned my fan on.
Now you're back.
I just turned my fan on. I got a bit of a throat.
Oh, you got your fan on.
I'm doing the brace for Nasta. He
you're
was
doing the
out to
brace
us last
stuff?
week. He sits there
I'm.
with a fan.
Oh no, I'm sweating too. I've got this bloody fever. Are you a sook when you get sick?
Oh, terrible. You should ask my missus. Oh, mate. No, I'm not the most pleasant bloke to be around at the best of times, let alone when I've got COVID. But we'll
This is. What are you laughing at?
you anyway.
Oh, don't make me laugh. We're sick. We're sick. We're sick. Now I'm sweating a lot. Anyway, okay. Hey, listen. Let's do our champs and chumps. If you can just control yourself for 2 seconds. What do you got for us, champ?
Mate, my thumbs up this week, and I can't
No, it's
believe
champ,
this.
not thumbs up. Jesus. Get,
Well,
get the segment right.
my champ then, rugby league player movement madness. This could only happen in rugby league. Dom Young,
What is it?
Roosters winger, plays on Saturday night in Newcastle against the Newcastle Knights. After the game, he signs a release from the Roosters, then signs a contract with the Knights, and then does recovery with the Knights. Mate, this was never ever happen. It could only happen in rugby league.
Well, I don't think mid-season transfers can only happen in league, but that's
Yeah, but mate,
that's pretty funky.
he's playing for one team and recovering with the other team the next day. And look, I think he's a good signing from Newcastle.
He is, he is, he is. He is. I tell you what, they'd like some middle forwards instead. My champ is Carlos Alcaraz, who beat Yannick Sinner in the longest decider in French Open history. He was down 2 sets to love against the Italian and came back and beat Sinner in
How long did it
five
go
hours
for,
twenty
Webby?
nine minutes.
Wow.
It's 5 hours 29 minutes. It stopped. He escaped. Sinner couldn't escape from Alcaraz, so you could have used that headline.
Yeah,
Um,
wow.
it stopped. It stopped Sinner from winning a career slam. These are the new. This is the new Nadal Federer. We all talked about what would happen if when Nadal and Federer and obviously Djokovic when he's sort of on his last legs too. What that
Yeah,
would
yeah.
mean on his last legs, even though he made the semis. What that would mean for men's tennis. And you got these two coming through. So
They need it.
Carlos Alcaraz
Yeah.
is my
Tennis needs
why.
it, Webby. Tennis needs it. I've looked back at the Australian Open last
They
year,
need
and
rivalries.
and they need wow factor. It's they lost so many champions over such a short period of time, and I didn't see the final, but they tell me it was a sensational game.
It was an epic. Okay, who's your chump?
My chump mate is
Not thumbs down, chump.
yeah, thanks. My chump is the Queensland Rugby League, and
Oh
I tell
yeah.
you I'm blaming you. I'm blaming Ben Ikin, who I have so much time for as their chief executive, and I'm blaming Billy Slater because I got a lot of time for Billy too. I think he's an outstanding human being. For the life of me, I cannot understand their decision to allow Ezra Mam to be part of the Queensland extended squad to travel to Perth for this game next Wednesday night. Look, I could nearly understand Webby.
I don't get
I,
it either.
yeah, you know what? If they, if he was starting, I could nearly understand. They picked the best side, but they say they've picked him for the experience. That man does not deserve any experience. He's very lucky to be playing any form of rugby league this year, and two people as intelligent as Billy Slater and Ben Ikin, I can't believe they've allowed it to happen.
No, I agree with you, Buzz. I just think from a I don't know why. Like, if he's not in the team, if you don't need him, then why bring it in and invite all this discussion around
That,
it? I just don't really get it. I don't really get it. Okay, so my chump is I'm not going to get into the Tottenham Hotspur chairman Daniel Levy for sacking Ange Postecoglou. That's a bit old, but I think I was saying it on our show for weeks that I didn't expect Ange to keep his job, even if he did win the Europa League, which he did. Or you could smell it. You could tell that the chairman didn't have an appetite to keep him on. But the Melbourne Lord Mayor Nicholas Rees has jumped out this week and put out a statement demanding that they backflip on the decision.
oh,
So
is it serious?
I can really see, like, if the chairman of Tottenham Hotspur isn't going to listen to his fans nor his players, who Ange has a support of. I can't see him listening to the Melbourne Lord Mayor. What a dribbler!
You
Nicholas
know what?
Rees, you dribbler.
Webby, what was Ange's
What's doing?
payout?
I read somewhere it was more than 8 million Australian. So
I wish someone would sack
I'm
me
sure
and
he'll be
pay me
okay.
8 mil. I would kill to be sacked
Saying,
for
I
eight
wish someone
mil.
would sack you. I wish someone would just sack you.
I do you.
Give you $8.
You couldn't afford to lose me on this podcast.
Oh, please! I've been carrying you for 3 months. Hey,
Yeah.
hey, this is fun, isn't it? How you feeling? Let's just do a health check. How you feeling?
About two. Yeah.
About it too. Yeah, I'm saying. I've got my little dog over here, Stevie Nicks, the little grey staffy. She's looking at me
Yes.
going, "What the hell are you doing?"
I've got my 19 year
Okay,
old.
are you
I've
right there,
got
Buzz?
my 16-year-old cavoodle on the floor there, see?
Oh, have a look at him.
Mate, he's 16.
Oh, God love him.
He's on his last legs, the poor bugger,
Oh,
but that's right.
is he?
Yeah.
That's not good.
Yeah,
Just
beautiful.
two old dogs there in the Shire doing their best. I love it. Hey, Buzz, you heard it here first. What Payne Haas, who says that he doesn't want to leave the Broncos, but still won't extend his contract. What is doing with Payne Haas, the Broncos and New South Wales and Australian and possibly Samoan prop?
Yes. Look, I think what we've been reading in the media is all bullshit. If Payne Haas was so committed, well, I do. If Payne Haas was so committed to the Broncos, he would have been signed, sealed, and delivered by now. And he is saying all the right things. His manager is saying all the right things because publicly they have no choice. The Broncos are in a real hole. I know they beat the Titans last week, but they are desperately trying to re-establish their premiership credentials. And if Payne Haas came out now and publicly admitted that he's not so sure about staying there, Could you imagine the backlash? So,
That's right. That's right.
as in all negotiations, and as in all PR exercises, people in tense situations like this publicly say the right thing. I have it from other authorities that it's anything but certain that he will stay there. Mind you, he's there next year.
I'm
He's under contract. So he
sure.
can't talk to a
Yeah.
rival until November. But his manager accidentally on purpose put his name out on players available. Like, seriously, and then claimed it was an
I get it.
accident.
I get it. I've heard it from other clubs. So to me, this is just one. I think he's like I don't. Why would he? Why would he extend now? Like his price is just going to go up and up and up. Like he's clearly the best prop in the game by a long way. But also, I've heard from other clubs that he's interested. You know, he's not against leaving Brisbane if he has to. So you know,
Yeah.
a lot of it's your typical puppeteering publicly. But I wouldn't be thinking that Payne Haas has any guarantee of being at Brisbane beyond this contract whatsoever.
Webby, it's really interesting when you say he's clearly the best prop. In every other position in rugby league, like let's
What, you
look
don't
at
think
the
so?
half. No, no, I do. You look at every other position in rugby league, there's not a lot of difference in the halves between, say, a Jerome Hughes and a Cleary. They're both champions.
Mm.
You go to the fullbacks, there's Tedesco and there's Edwards and there's Walt. You know, there's not a lot of difference. Same with the centres. Stagg's not even playing Origin. Latrell and Crichton. Mate, the gap between Payne Haas and the rest of the props in the comp is more substantial than any other position on a rugby league field. And mate,
Yeah, I'm with you.
if he is serious about waiting until November and listening to what a club like Perth would have to offer, I think he would become the highest paid player in the game. And I'm talking $1.6 million. Sounds crazy for a front
It's a
rower.
remarkable story. Remember the old Wayne Bennett line that you don't pay your props any more than 800. I think was the ceiling, or was it less than that? But
Yeah,
it certainly wasn't a hell of a lot, and it certainly wasn't the most in the competition. But people forget Payne's got he's got two kids to look after. He also got his two siblings to look after because his parents are in jail. Like he's a remarkable kid, Payne. And I'm not big on players being driven by the dollar, but if anyone deserves to be driven by the dollar, it's Payne Haas in this instance.
no, I agree with you.
Thoughts?
And look, because of those personal issues in the background and how he's basically raising a family with his mother and father in jail, I tend to think
Hmm.
if he does go, he wouldn't go to Perth. That it'd be a Southeast Queensland club,
Yeah.
closer to home. Wouldn't the
Yeah.
Titans love him
Yeah.
where his brother is? Wouldn't the Dolphins? And you know what?
For
You
sure.
could always find money.
I know Sydney clubs are very interested.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Anyway,
Okay.
watch this space,
Yeah, you
Webber.
can always find money if you to get a player of his ability, you'd move your salary cap no end to try and fit him in. Righto, let's get into it. State of Oregon 2 in Perth next Wednesday. I've got to say, Buzz, there's something terribly wrong with the promotion of the game when the biggest war of words is between Aaron Woods and Karl Stefanovic. Spare me.
It's outrageous, isn't it? It's absolutely
Yeah, it's
outrageous.
pretty flat.
Look, it's tabloid journalism, I guess, isn't it? It makes a. You can get the word grub into a headline on the back page. Well, it works.
Yes,
And I spoke to Woodsy yesterday and I said,
that's
mate,
right.
a little bit over the top. He said, oh, mate, the build, like I was banging on round one, game one. No one says anything. You don't think they need
Yeah.
to say anything. So Woodsy just went off his chops
Well,
at
the
Billy.
ratings were through the roof.
Yeah, yeah. Well, they were.
Yes, he did. He did. And the ratings were through the roof. But the game was flat.
I
Just in
worry
terms of,
about, yeah.
I tell you what. Sorry. No, you go. You go. It's
I,
your show.
I worry a little bit about the immediate future of Origin because I think New South Wales are going to blow them off the park again. I think New South Wales have got more improvement from game one. And history shows whenever Queensland are going bad, Origin suffers. Yeah, it really does, Webby. And look, I know they had the great run under
It
Mal,
does.
and I know they've had some miracle wins over the year, but I just think they're cooked. I think you put the two sides down on paper,
Yeah.
we got a side that could win by 20.
Well, I just think I agree. On paper, New South Wales should blow them off the park, and there was everything's been so very un-Queensland, like from the way they performed in front of their home crowd up there. That's very un-Queensland. The way that they turfed DCE, very un-Queensland. Picking man when they didn't have to, un-Queensland. I just there's so much of it that doesn't seem like the Maroons DNA that we know so well. Oh, I'm sorry, and the big one, not kicking to Spencer, which they've tried to justify, and
Yeah,
Billy's taken the fall and said it was him. I thought Angus Crichton made some really spicy comments this week saying it was, they definitely were trying to avoid him. He also said, Angus Crichton, I thought these quotes could have been ramped up a lot more. He said, it was funny seeing some of their changes. I will bite my tongue. So that was a little
yeah,
subtle
yeah,
whack over
yeah,
over their selections. Look, Buzz, I got a bit of mail this week, and it wasn't like the strongest mail, but that they weren't happy Queensland with the effort or just the enthusiasm of their senior players in the lead up to the first game. And if that's the case, then I could see why they'd move DCE out, make Munster captain, who hasn't had a great, his last few Queensland games for Queensland haven't been spectacular. So it's like I'm expecting Munster to have the absolute game of his life, and that, as from a New South Wales fan's
yeah,
perspective, that scares the shit out of me.
yeah. He's a great player, great player. I tell you, Webby, I'm
He is,
surprised.
he is.
I'm surprised they didn't pick Reece Walsh, Webby, and I'll tell you why. I think Ponga is going awful. And look, it was hard to inject
He
himself in
is.
game one at Suncorp, but Reece Walsh, first game in about 6 weeks, lifted a really ordinary Broncos side from 6 weeks to a. He lit up their attack again, Webby, and it wasn't just his speed; it was his long
Yeah,
passing and this Queensland side to beat New South Wales need an injection of something. Now, Dearden, I hope he can get more football. I don't because I want New South Wales to win. But, guys like the Hammer and Robert Toyer have got to see more quality footy. And Dearden will make a difference
one hundred
there.
percent.
But I think Walsh could have been the X factor.
I think Dearden will be is a real, even though I don't agree with DCE the way that it was done. It was, as I said, it's very un-Queensland. You can't deny that Dearden's like that. He's the future at halfback for Queensland. But also, remember that game he came in. Remember when Munster got ruled out with COVID in 22? Was it 22?
Yes. Yeah,
The
yeah.
decider in
Yeah.
22, and he had an absolute blinder. Dearden. He was pretty much the best player on the field. So I can't see him being overawed at all. But it's a fascinating game. I just hope it's got some more intensity than it did in the first game.
Yeah, no, me too, Webby. Me
Righto.
too. Hey, yeah, mate,
Okay.
it's like.
Okay. Let's get on to
Oh,
the.
no, you go on. You go ahead. For
It's very
sure.
clunky not being in the same room with each other, isn't it?
It is
Hey,
clunky.
I
But
know
you're a
we've all got
clunky
Lachie
sort of
Galvin.
person.
Shut up. I'll clunk you when I see you next if you're not careful. You're very nasty. You're very nasty. Virtually, whether it's virtually or face to face.
Keep
Yeah, good
going.
chat. Hey, I know we've got Lachie Galvin fatigue, but that was some story on Monday. They beat the Eels 30-12. He came on with 23 minutes to go, scored a try. Regardless of how this played out and how we got to Canterbury, the story for the rest of this year, the number one story in the
Oh,
game, Buzz, is what this does to the Dogs. Um, it worked. It worked the other night. He seemed very happy, but those dressing room cameras of Reid Marnie, didn't suggest it's a happy camp, at least for him.
Webby, I know we got to talk Galvin. I know we got to because it's a big story. But, mate, I find him the most overexposed footballer in the competition. By far the mate. You know that try scored? Mate, you do understand you
Mm.
or me would have scored that try. Mate, it was the
Oh, I would have raced
biggest...
around under the posts and done a backflip and
Mate, and then I tell you, I just want to talk about this overexposure. I watched the Raiders, the game before Papa's, record-breaking game. And their 5'8", a guy called Ethan Strange. He, in my opinion, is a better player than Galvin. He is a sensational player. He's tough. He can tackle. He's scored 2 tries, and he's a superstar. I'm telling you, he will be our next generation State of Origin 5'8", ahead of Galvin, in my view. That's just my view. I think
yeah,
he is the all-round.
yeah. But
And, I'm over the Galvin stuff, but we'll talk about it because we have to.
okay, well, we don't have to talk about it in depth. Look, but it's overexposed because it's been such a big story. The way that he left and the way that he got there. I'm not saying he's got better or worse, but I find it fascinating that the team that's leading the competition
Yeah,
has brought this figure into their club at halfback. That's what it'll be when Burton comes back. You
yeah.
expect, I don't know, Sexton at hooker, whatever. But it's such a fascinating yarn because they're the competition leaders who could, it's either going to make or break their season. Let's be fair dinkum about it. I think it's such and Gus always would say this about Penrith to me about how it wasn't about culture, it was about chemistry. That's how you win comps. It's all about the chemistry within the side and how Cameron Serrano manages the chemistry in this Canterbury team now that they've brought a player in right in the middle of the season. I reckon is fascinating. Don't you reckon?
Yeah, mate, it is. It's a fascinating story. And I heard Stephen Crichton interviewed yesterday in New South Wales camp, and he said it'll be okay. We've got a team first culture there,
Yeah.
but it's very hard to have a team first culture. It's okay when you're a superstar, but what about Bailey Haywood? Does he have any idea where he's
Mm.
going to play? What about Reid Marnie? Now, he joined that club, Webb, in 2022 when they were rock bottom. Couldn't win a footy game.
Mm-hmm.
Pledged his loyalty to them. A massive part of the rebuild. Then out you go, son. See you later. You've got permission to negotiate elsewhere. How does he feel? What about
Buzz,
Sexton?
Buzz, it's professional sport, Buzz. It's professional sport. It's
What about
ruthless. That's what happens, you know?
what about Toby
What about
Sexton?
what?
Toby Sexton. They didn't have a
I
half.
think
They're
the way
leading the comp.
I know, but that's why I think it's an interesting story, and it's like it's either going to be the best decision ever, or it's going to break them. So that's why I find it interesting. But I'll tell you one thing: there's something. God help us, Buzz, if Canterbury make the grand final, because on Monday night the streets of Belmore,
Oh.
particularly Belmore Road, were alive. There's one car did a burnout, and the smoke wafted from there into a kebab shop. The fire engines, the fire engines were called. That's after they beat the team that's second last. What the fuck's going to happen if they make the grand final? That's all I can say.
I saw
Very
the
good,
head.
very good.
I
Okay,
saw
let's.
I saw the head chef of the kebab shop on Channel 9 News blowing up about
Interviewed.
all the
Rugby league.
Yeah, oh, what a good
There's
story.
nothing you
It
can't
is a
do.
great
Okay,
story, the Bulldogs, mate.
very good. They are an exceptional story, and I know we've been critical of Gus and the way that the Galvin thing came down, but let me make it very clear because people think, "Oh, you hate Gus, you Gus haters." I've got enormous respect for Gus. He does mate. The only thing that I find objectionable with Gus is that the NRL let him get away with blue murder because they're scared of him. Anyway, let's move on. World Test
Yeah, I don't,
Championship
yeah,
got under
go on. No, I
you're
don't
on
want to, I
delay.
was about to say
Like you're
something, I won't. You
like
go.
Yeah, let's not fire up the Dogs fans. We're just getting them back on side. Hey, I don't know if you saw the cricket last night, Buzz. The World Test Championship underway at Lords, Australia v South Africa. 14 wickets in one day of cricket was quite remarkable. It was overcast. The ball was moving all over the shop. I'd love to be there. Have you ever been to Lords, Buzz?
Mate, I went there last year in November, and I just did the tour, and it was wow. You could just feel cricket while you're walking around the ground, and and we did the dressing rooms, and we did everywhere there. The
Wow.
members and mate, have you been there?
No, no, no. I've got two. I've pretty much covered everything in sport, but the two I've got to do is a test at Lords and the US Masters. So, um, yeah, they're the two I want to do. But I thought they left Constas out. They brought in Labuschagne. He wasn't the only one in the top order who didn't get runs, but it seems like it's a pretty dicey wicket. Buzz, if Australia can win this game, and let's look, be just to the listeners and the viewers out there, be wary that we're recording this after the first day of play, and things change dramatically in Test cricket, particularly at Lords. But if Australia can win this Test, like they've got to be, Pat Cummins' team's got to be considered one of our greatest Test teams, or one of our greatest teams, full stop, because it's won World Cup, one day World Cups, World 2020s, and it's about to possibly win back-to-back World Test Cricket Championships. It's up there with the greats.
It really is, Webby. I've got no doubt about that. And this bowling attack, whenever our bats fail, and getting 200 in the first innings at Lords isn't a great, even though we're sent in. But the bowlers always, whenever we haven't batted, bring us back into it. And Stark, Cummins, and
That's right.
Hazelwood, the consistency, the consistent excellence of those three. Then chuck in Nathan Lyon, and we've got a couple of all rounders now with Bo Webster and, the big fellow who batted number one. It's. But, mate, again, Webby, I want to blow up. Anti-siphoning
Oh,
laws.
good blow up.
No, I'm going to. A game of this magnitude should be shown on traditional broadcast. Same with the Socceroos. They qualified midweek for the World Cup. Did you know they were even playing?
Yes,
How did you watch them, Webby? Who covered it?
I've got Paramount.
I was.
Welcome to the world, Buzz. You've got to pay for shit.
Oh, so
You know
you
what?
need
Can I say this?
Paramount, you
So you know
need
Amazon
Prime,
Prime.
you need
You know.
KO.
So you know Amazon Prime. You know how much it is a month?
No.
$9.99. $9, and you can get a 30-day free trial if you wanted to watch it.
Oh, really?
That's the way it's going to go, Buzz. That's the future. Wait till your mate Volandis sells Origin to Netflix. We'll be paying $40 a month to watch Origin.
I think
You can afford it.
our,
You've got plenty.
I think the government need to look at their hopelessly inadequate anti-siphoning rules. And for the big events like this, need to be free to wear. Anyway,
Yeah, no,
we're
it's funny.
talking. We're
I had
talking.
people actually. People were messaging me, mates of mine, going, "This is a disgrace that it's not on. That's not on free to wear." Well, come on. It's you get
Well,
a free trial.
mate, even rugby union. Right, we've got the Lions coming. Biggest sporting event in this country this year, correct? Wallabies v
Mm-hmm.
Lions. We're not paying for that because it's on the
Yes.
anti-siphoning list. We should never have to pay for it.
Yeah. No. Don't
Anyway,
pay. We should have everything. Should be
what
free.
else are we talking about?
You know what?
Can we
We've
wind
got
this
our.
up early?
Don't rush me. Don't rush me, or I'll rush you. War stories. Because of the World Test Championship, it just made me think of all the fabulous times I've had blues with international cricketers over the years. I've had one of my favourite run-ins. It wasn't a run-in as such. You'll love this. Some of these stories involve alcohol. I covered the 2020 World Cup in the Caribbean in 2010, in St. Lucia and Barbados. There's not. That was a descent into madness. I've told this story before, but it's worth retelling. Clive Lloyd was at the game in St. Lucia, and I thought, well, when you're on tour, you're looking for different
Mm.
different angles and different quotes from famous people. And I went up to Clive Lloyd and I shook his hand and I said, "G'day, Mr. Lloyd, Andrew Webster, Daily Telegraph. That's who I was working for at the moment. Do you mind if I just give you an interview?" And he said, "Sure, sure, sure." He goes, "You like the rum punch, don't you?" And I said, "Excuse me?" He said, "You like the rum punch." I said, "How do you know that?" And he goes, "Because I can smell it on you."
Did you say to me?
Well, it was particularly good. I said, "Guilty, guilty." The other
Did
one
you have an
was
incident
that same
somewhere?
year. Yes, I did have an incident. So I covered the Ashes tour in 2010 for the News Limited group, including the third test in Adelaide. Was it the third test in Adelaide? Might have been the second test in it. The second test was in Adelaide, and I never covered a test match at in Adelaide before. You go and have this glorious lunch, and they put on day three, they just give you the best South Australian beers. Day four, the best South Australian wine. And then at the after lunch, they come and put it in an esky at the back of the press box. So I was like, good as gold. I'm hammering it down, typing away. Kevin Peterson played for England, scores 100. So he was the story. And earlier in that tour, Shane Warne had called him an outcast of the England cricket team, and none of the softcock England reporters had dared ask him about whether he was an outcast of the Australian team and what that meant. So I'd waddle off to the presser and finally got a question, and I said, Kevin, are you an outcast? He's like, what? I said, are you an outcast? And he goes, who said that? And I said, Shane Warne. Probably heard of him. He said, no, I'm not an outcast. I got absolutely hammered by Fleet Street. Like it was not a great moment. Have you had any run-ins with the international cricketers over the years?
I tell you what, in my old days as a sports editor, I would have stamped your papers never to tour again with that sort of
Never
behaviour.
to her again, babe. But the copy was sensational. The copy was incredible.
Oh, I'm sure it was. Hey, mate, look, over my career, I've been basically 24/7 rugby league writer. I haven't covered a lot of cricket. I've had a few running battles, none more so than my old mate Michael Clarke, particularly on radio when he was
Oh,
doing Sky
Clarkey. Yeah, we've
Sport.
had a.
Oh, mate, geez, he was a pain in the arse
I've
and
had
he
a few.
used to
I've
fight
had a
all the
few
time.
run-ins with pubs.
Yeah,
That's
well,
good.
Clarke, as you know, was co-host of the Big Sports Breakfast, and I had a gig there every Monday. And mate, Clarkey was good talking about cricket. He knew what he was talking about. But when he starts challenging me on rugby league, and
Oh, gee.
I knew full well that he hadn't even watched the game or hadn't even read the column that we were actually chatting about. Mate, he gave me the shits. And we had a couple of fair old stints that made it onto the Daily Mail, you know.
Oh, that's
But
good. That's good.
hey,
Yeah, Clarkey and
well,
I've had
you
a
know
few
you've
few
made it.
run-ins, but
You know
we've
you've
had a
made
few
it.
run-ins, but we're good now. We're good now. I will say this though, like a lot of international cricketers, I got covered a lot of cricket, a lot of profile pieces. Um, uh, they say you should never meet your heroes. Well, like one day at the Sydney Test, I sat next to Allan Border and Greg Chappell at lunch
Mm.
at the lunch break for the and they were easily just two of the most engaging blokes I've ever met. They were fabulous company. So we're not going to slam all international cricketers, but some can be quite prickly.
Webby, you know what my best job ever, I reckon, in journalism was? A long, long time ago, I had the job of ghosting Keith Miller's column.
Oh wow,
What a great man, Webby. Webby, look,
was he?
half
That's
the
such a
time
privilege,
I
Buzz.
on and mate, he was such a gentleman. 2 or 3 times a season, he'd take me out to lunch at a really nice flash. restaurant. Look, it was very hard to find sometimes because he liked his social activities. You,
Activities.
he'd often be, I'm ringing him to Ghost to column on the Boxing Day test, and he'd be at Flemington, and watching it on the TV there. But geez, he was a great bloke,
Too
Webby.
good. Too good.
I goes to a lot of
That's
columns,
the
goes
great
to
Keith
Tony
Miller.
Gregg.
What an honour.
It really was. Yeah, I did Tony Gregg and Steve Waugh. Yeah, there you go.
I love how Richie always used to do his own
Yeah.
columns, tapping away. Okay,
So
fearless
did Bill
forecast time.
O'Reilly. What
Buzz
what
needs to
about
go
Bill
and
O'Reilly, mate?
he's one of the greats. He's one of the greats cricket writers who also one of the great cricketers. Fearless forecast. What do you got for me, Buzz?
New South Wales by minimum 12 points. Man of the match, Nathan Cleary. We can only improve on because we've got a better connection now with a game under our belt. There is absolutely no suggestion of any relaxation or overconfidence in the Blues side. I think they'll be just as pumped as game one and they'll blow them off the park.
Okay, let's see whether that happens. My fearless forecast is in rugby union. Michael Checker will this weekend coach the Leicester Tigers to a massive upset win over Bath in the Rugby Premiership at Twickenham. And if he does so, that makes him the first coach to win a Heineken Cup, which he did with Leinster in 2009, and a Super Rugby title, which he did with the Tars in 2014. He recently said that there's nothing left for him to do in Australian rugby, so he's openly said he'd be keen to coach in the NRL, which I think an NRL club should think outside the square and consider. What do you reckon, Buzz? Thanks for that today. We battled through.
Yeah.
Like the soldier, like the warriors that we are. Like the warriors that we are.
Yeah. Can I go now?
Please. Yeah, good. I'm sick of looking at your head. All right, Buzz. Thanks, everyone. Thanks for tuning in. Sorry we're so sick. We'll be back in the studio next week for another edition of Off the Record.